Brian was scared. Brian was lost. He did not know where he was. He was running through a forest, for his life, from a physical representation of terror. Some being, a mechanical man, no monster. Wait, both. Brian tripped on a stump. He did not get up because he knew this was the end. He just curled up and cried while he heard the static chanting of the monster. Then he woke up. He realized that it was all just a dream. Brian may never want to go back to his tent again. Dreams can do that to you. They can dig deep into your mind and bring out the worst fears in order to terrorize you in the worst way imaginable. Is that not strange? The fact that your own mind turns against you while you sleep. Some may argue that your mind is trying to overcome your fears, but Brian doesn't think so. Brian arose from his tent and shuffled over to the fire pit like an old, depressed man. He squatted by the stones surrounding the ashes from days and days of trying to survive this horrible apocalypse. That caused Brian to remember another time, a better time. He remembered his friends that accompanied him, Sam and Paige. He remembered the good times they had telling stories, fighting aliens, crafting guns. Brian remembered one time when Paige made a shotgun that shot sand, and the aliens were so scared. It was so funny how they reacted. But that was a better time, a time far ago. Now Brian never sees any people, or aliens, or anything that isn't grass. Brian may be the last man on Earth, or even the last sentient life. After a few sparks, a fire appeared on top of the ashes. Brian will never clean out the ashes. They contain his memories, his last pieces of happiness. The fire burnt itself out, and Brian tried to start another one, only realizing that it was pointless. Brian then got up, fully awake now, and headed in the direction he remembers the dead forest at. He almost forgot his gun. He grabbed it and started walking. He thought about his gun and why he needed it. There may not be any life on this desert planet, but the machine does not count as life. Brian was walking through the woods for a long time. The heavy fog made it difficult to orientate himself. Then he heard it. The static chanting, the moan of the mechanisms. The cries injected into your head to make every aspect of your experience as disturbing as possible. Brian stopped in his position and spread his legs in a stable position. He raised his rifle to his cold, rock-hard cheek and aimed. But at what? The fog made it so he could hardly see a thing. But the machine did not know of Brian's hearing. The machine could not sense sound. The machine could only sense fear, for fear is the one thing that keeps the monster going. Fear is its power source. Brian knew the key to defeating the monster that rules his world, the one that took his friends. Brian tried to recede his fear, and instead of fear, anger pooled in Brian's mind. Brian then aimed at the direction he heard the sound and took the shot. He heard muffled, inhuman screams, and there it was. The fog cleared up as if it were artificial, enough for Brian to see the monster, but this time lying on the ground with a bigger-than-expected hole where its stomach should be. He saw sparks flying out of the hole and smoke to finish it off. At this point, the fog was almost cleared. Brian could not believe what he just did. He killed it. He actually killed it. He walked past the dead, leafless trees to his camp. When he got back, the fog was completely cleared, revealing a beautiful blue sky to celebrate his victory. Brian was amazed at the sight. He could not remember the last time he saw a cloudless sky, perhaps because of all the pollution that the Great War had caused. Then Brian saw something strange on the horizon of the ocean of grass. Something shiny. He dashed to his tent where he dusted off his binoculars and looked through them. He almost forgot what these things were. They were called cities, and they were each a giant network of people. Brian looked closer, and he could not believe his eyes. People. For the first time in what felt like a century, Brian saw other living people. He wondered how there has been a city here, and he did not see it. But he did not care. He grabbed all his belongings, put them in his bag, and started running. Fast.